I think I'm falling out of love with FPS games, which is it's kind of a tough thought for me to process at the moment. Funnily enough, just for clarity's sake, I'm just gonna preface the video by saying that I know that in terms of the overall channel, it has been quite a bit since the last upload after I said I would keep doing it. And as for this video, it's completely unscripted. I'm just doing this impromptu, while I have time and while my emotions are kind of heated up. It'll definitely be a bit more of kind of like a let's just kind of talk and chat type of thing, maybe podcasty in a way. I just have a lot of things on my mind that I kind of want to get off my chest, or in truth, really just kind of get it out there. Like actually just finally say it because I'm always internalizing these things, and it is in relation to FPSs in general because part of the reason why this kind of is like being prompted in my mind on top of just general gaming experience the past few weeks is Call of Duty went ahead and published finally their follow up to explaining what's going on with skill matching in their matchmaking system for Call of Duty. And it's given us some neat little insights. It's also given us confirmation on a lot of the suspicions that we've had on the system for the past few years since Modern Warfare, 2019 specifically. And I say that because they're trying to gaslight us into thinking that this type of system has always been a thing since COD 4. It hasn't. It's specifically, strictly, and noticeably started with the Modern Warfare reboot. But that's neither here nor there. The entire prospect of them utilizing a system to artificially manage your gaming experience just because it makes them number one the most money and number two keeps the most amount of players engaged is it's immoral in a sense, I would say. And again, neither here nor there, but I kind of feel like that's just how business in general has kind of been going the past few years, not even in just the gaming space but a lot of other kind of multimedia things. Systems and companies are just doing things to make the most amount of money or keep the most amount of engagement. But and I'll stop along that front and get back to like my main topic of what's been going on with just games and why I'm falling out of love with FPS is outside of the fact that in general matchmaking systems kind of are going on this trend. It's also because of this trend and because it's been so prominent the past few years and so many people have gotten used to it. It's been kind of just creating an atmosphere in the FPS space, I feel like, where people just don't want to or are not comfortable with branching out of the meta, which is, a whole other problem on its own. Um, what clearly, like, no matter what game you play, there's always going to be the best of something, the best team, the best gun, the best gear, the best character, the best something. There's always going to be something best. It's impossible to have a completely balanced sandbox for the player to utilize, single player or multiplayer. Um, and because of the way that people play FPSs in general, it kind of just loops back on the fact that people only want to use whatever is the strongest because that's how you gain the most minute of advantages and how in theory, by following that, could end up doing the best and obviously have the most fun. Because, particularly for FPSs in general, um, when you're doing the best and when you're being the slayer out there, that's when the game is the most fun. And I have my moments. I think it's fair to say, I haven't really published a lot of my gameplays out anywhere, but on my good games where I'm kind of locked in or I'm kind of doing things, I'd say that I am, pretty comfortably a 2 or 3 KD player on like my super good games. And those are the ones that like I'm always like really proud of and I look at the KD after the match and I was like, "Oh, I did good. I like that. That was a fun game." But because of that fact and because of the way that these systems actively try to maximize player engagement and retention, it just makes things feel extremely artificial. And I keep on coming back to different FPSs, mainly Call of Duty, just because, well, just to, I guess, kind of validate Call of Duty's own opinions on the whole thing as a brand. Yes, the Infinity Ward engine, after it got overhauled, does feel really good. It looks really good. And on the prospect of Black Ops 6 coming out, I'm excited to see how Treyarch is able to put their touch on this Infinity Ward engine, because it is still Infinity Ward's engine. As much as Call of Duty wants to rebrand it as the shared engine now, it's still Infinity Ward's, and it's whatever. But like, I do like Call of Duty for the way it feels and the way it looks. And I don't think it's, any type of, hot take to say that, like, a lot of us play Call of Duty over FPS just because of the way that it feels. Like, it's the gold standard when it comes to how a game looks and feels. Kind of before you get into the mechanics of the gameplay itself. Um, and I don't know, it's just like, because I can play other FPSs like X Defiant. X Defiant has been on the rise. It's doing well, and I give nothing but props, adoration, and support to Mark Rubin and the team all over there for X Defiant. And they're trying their best. The game is still a work in progress. I do have my own gripes with it, and it is hard for me to kind of keep playing because the game does feel kind of shallow in its own way. But even though it is kind of fun in its own ways as well, I still keep on coming back to Call of Duty just because it keeps on. It just, it feels the most familiar and it feels the most comfortable for me to play. That kind of comes also just from the fact that I've been playing it for over a decade of my life. But I don't know. Like, it's just so weird to kind of look back at when I really started playing Call of Duty, and it. I really started like actively trying to engage with the game, like actively. I would say in Black Ops 2, primarily it was zombies, but then Black Ops 3 came out, and that was the Call of Duty that I just poured as much time as I could into it. I gave that game everything as far as I remember. I want to say on the multiplayer it was Prestige 5 or 6. I didn't play it too much, but I did play it a lot to the point where I can get that high of a Prestige. And as far as zombies, I know for zombies I was definitely Master Prestige at least level 100. I know I hit 3 digits for Master Prestige in the zombies mode over there. Um, Definitely played it quite a lot, and like there's just something. It definitely is nostalgia, and times are different. But I also think it also comes down to how the companies kind of support, back, and run their games is also different nowadays. Kind of like how I was mentioning earlier, it's solely just done for player engagement, retention, and microtransactions. Now at this point, for Call of Duty, it's extremely bad for microtransactions. That's all they're focused on. Um, it's just such a weird thing to like kind of look back and see how much simpler things were. How you know games just in general across the entire kind of hierarchy of game dev, from the individual developers to the publishers, it was a lot more about the soul and trying to make something that was impactful. But now, I mean, I don't imagine it's just an FPS thing, but I think video games in general have just kind of devolved into strictly just being a profit printing machine for the people involved at the top. And it sucks. Just like any business, obviously they're in it to make money, but there comes a point to where, are they really willing to do the more immoral things to accomplish those? And in some cases, depending on who you talk to, yes they are, yes they aren't, or no they aren't. Some things are teetering closer rather, or not, and it depends. And it's just so weird to kind of see the game type that I've enjoyed for so long kind of completely falling apart. There's just always something wrong with it. And as much as praise we all give to X Defiant for going against the status quo in terms of having no skill based matchmaking in its public playlists specifically, still retaining the most classic type of arcade shooter, type of progression in the sense of, it's very simple. You got some mastery camo challenges, you got simple progression. There's nothing kind of pressing in terms of being super engagement farming. Um, but I think a lot of us can agree that the microtransactions are probably worse than Call of Duty. Like they're priced the same in terms of being overly expensive, but they also give you way less than Call of Duty gives. I mean, not that you can really put a price on, the little stickers or loading screens that Call of Duty adds, but at least it's something in those bundles. And X Defiant kind of just has, you know, the weapon skins and the character skins, and that's kind of about it. So I don't know. It's just so weird to kind of. I keep on saying it, but like I definitely am in denial when it comes to, like, I don't want the game type that I've enjoyed for this long to go further down into just kind of depravity and desperately trying to keep player retention through these artificial means. Like they're creating systems that are just purely artificial to do so. And maybe it is kind of time to start kind of breaking away in the sense. I think I've already kind of made the mental note that Black Ops 6 very likely is going to be my last Call of Duty that I buy, possibly ever. And it depends what happens, the following year, because rumors are that it's going to be a Black Ops 2 sequel, like a direct sequel, probably the 2030s. Um, and that could be good. But if we're just kind of going on like assumed, public knowledge principle here, Infinity Ward is next. I think we all can agree that we do not trust Infinity Ward to make a good Call of Duty game anymore. I feel for the for the YouTubers that are likely going to have to stick around and just deal with it. Sledgehammer's games are good, but they clearly are still like a tertiary studio in the eyes of Activision and the other higher ups because they still get kind of pushed around to do, whatever's required. Um, and then, Treyarch, this is like their kind of one and only and last chance to like seriously wow me, I can say. Because, Black Ops 6 was the peak, I think, for Black Ops as a sub franchise. 4, it was an okay multiplayer. It was different. I did get Dark Matter, I think, within a couple weeks, at the very least a month, um, on Black Ops 4. The zombies was not it. I don't know what Blundell and the team were thinking there, not to call them out directly, but I am a Black Ops 4 zombies hater. I will fully admit to that. That was a complete and utter just dropping of the ball. Cold War, it's certainly just an ill product. The fact that it was made during a whole pandemic type of thing, and then you know trying to live service a game that definitely was not ready for live service during that time as well. And I pity Treyarch for the fact that, like, I think pretty much every single title since Black Ops 2, there's always been some sort of development hell going on for them, always needing to kind of come in, help, or readjust something in the Call of Duty space to always get the next game out the door, even if it's not their own title that they're leading. Um, and who knows? We don't know at the moment if Black Ops 6 has had like a relatively uninterrupted dev cycle, but this is their chance to kind of like show up and prove themselves with a solid title in the live service now kind of space that Call of Duty is living in. And I don't know, I just wish things could kind of go back to a simpler time. And I wish that the people who play these games could also just learn to lighten up a little bit not only in the like not excuse me, not specifically in the sense of like trash talking or just anything in regards to like actually communicating through voice chat or whatever in games like Call of Duty, but like learning to just, you know, take it chill and do something different in these games. Like it's not always about winning, obviously, especially now with the matchmaking systems being so rigged. It's actively trying to keep you at a 1.0 win loss, which is again, it teeters on the account of just being an immoral practice, but you know, like if you know, if like myself, if you know that your experience is being manipulated, why try? You know, why keep indulging with it? Why try to kind of follow along with it? And it's hard for me to do that. Like I acknowledge that this is all happening, but I personally find it difficult for me to just kind of break away and forget about the fact that like, okay, this game I should like be losing. It's way too hard of a game to like win. I should just let the loss come. The instincts in me like for playing FPSs just don't let that happen. I want to win. I want to do good. I want to slay out, and it just doesn't happen. Oh my gosh, because I get the most amount of enjoyment out of playing FPSs. That's just kind of how it goes. Um, and I am finding I want to say I am finding a bit of a second love, if not maybe hopefully a new primary one with games that are single player primarily. Um, you know, more specifically, I guess the kind of type that like Hoyoverse is making in general, as like kind of a general kind of setup, I suppose. Genshin being the primary one, obviously, but you know, I have started playing Zenless Zone Zero. I'm having a good bit of fun with that. Not as much as Genshin. Like I can stick with ZZZ as just like a purely free to play game. You know that I'll play if I have nothing else to do. Um, but Genshin is still my main one in the sense that like that's the one that like I'm actively following. I want to be there to the end, and we're so close to Natlon. We're in the middle of the last patch, and Natlon is coming up, and that is the type of game experience that I it's very easy to say that you can enjoy it because like I feel like a lot of people just kind of poster the fact that like oh it's PvE, you're not actually doing anything, you're not getting any sort of competition satisfaction out of it. Like how is this fun for you? Or you know I could just kind of be ass blasting out of my mouth right now. Maybe people don't actually think that, but that's kind of like I feel like that's probably the mindset around kind of single player games like that where you know, if you're so brain rotted by online multiplayer competitive stuff, you know, it's like why play it? But I don't know. Again, I could just be talking out of my ass there. I'll fully admit that. Apologies, but and I shouldn't feel the need to validate playing games that are single player, much less a game like Genshin. Um, you know, it's I thoroughly enjoy playing those games, and I haven't made a video on it. I haven't actively talked about it, but I am speaking of single player games. I am full sent. I am full hype. I am on the train with the Final Fantasy VII remake trilogy. Whatever the final part ends up being subtitled, uh, I personally am a fan of FF7 Return. That sounds like a really good one. I am all in, and I'm a huge fan of Rebirth. You know, I could never go back to remake with Rebirth being a game. um, Stellar Blade is another one. You know, I've you know personally, privately played through the game effectively twice at this point. I did reinstall the game yesterday to check out the summer update that they added for Eve and the Grand Oasis, which is cute. It was a nice little thing. Nothing too big, but just a nice little kind of vibey thing. Also, you know, dope music. We always support the music teams on projects like this. Um, I don't know, like, yeah, I grew up playing FPSs. I grew up, you know, being a part of that generation. I say generation, but like it's I guess a kind of a cohort of players where we sucked at the game and we sucked it up. We dealt with it, and if we wanted to end up being the people who could slay, we just, you know, dealt with it and got better. these systems that, just try to baby newer players and making them think that they're better than they actually are, it's corroding the entire online multiplayer gaming space because I remember when X Defiant like finally firstly came out. There was a wave of people asking for skill-based matchmaking back when the whole point of X Defiant was to not have it, and that just kind of fully exposed certain players that like you're not as good as you think you are. I'm sorry. If you want to get better, you put in the effort, learn the game mechanics, or actually just genuinely put in the time. Uh, it's one thing to kind of say after I've been playing Call of Duty for over a decade, but yeah, it's just as simple as that. It takes getting better at something takes repetition, it takes commitment, and I mess around with guitar on the side. I don't nearly put as much commitment into it as I'd like to get really good at it, but I can admit I have gotten extremely better since I first started, obviously. And I probably am better than a lot of average players out there. Perhaps depends if I'm having a good day or not. But the point still stands is, people don't need to be kind of babied or pampered through a experience, whether that be for something that's supposed to be, laid back and chill like a video game, or something that kind of takes a little bit more commitment, like a job or a new potential talent that you want to try and pick up. Instrumentation, drawing, things like that. It just takes time, repetition, and commitment. And again, I'm pretty sure this is a trend that kind of like follows a lot of other game types out there, not just FPS, but like in general. If video games have gotten to the point where they're just trying to pull the wool over certain players' eyes, making them think that they're better than they are just because it can make the company more money. I mean, yeah, you're going to be making more money, but you're rotting the mindset of so many players thinking that they're better than they actually are. And I don't know. This video, like I did mention at the top, this video was going to be a lot more ranty, definitely unscripted. I definitely repeated myself in some areas, but I do have to admit, it did feel good to kind of get a lot of that out. Um, I just wanted to kind of talk about what I've been feeling, and no doubt I will still be playing FPSs. Obviously, I'm still hyped for Black Ops 6. Cautiously. I haven't pre-ordered. I haven't done anything, rash or like unreasonable with the game. I'm just looking forward to it, and I do have expectations for Treyarch when it comes to zombies. Very high expectations. Um, and I mean, who knows? Yeah, possibly. Like maybe it'll just take a little bit longer. Maybe I just need to like actually try and learn. Maybe not learn, but like embrace a bit more of the enjoyment that I get out of single player games. Because I mean, I wish I could just go through and replay Remake and Rebirth again, like being completely unaware of everything. Because picking up Remake for the first time, oh my god, that title screen for Remake was just that instantly made me a fan, even though I knew nothing about the series. And then, Genshin is doing its own thing. Stellar Blade also has me as someone who will recognize the brand and support it in the future. Um, and I don't know. It's just gaming's been in such a weird spot the past few years. I feel like COVID was part of the reason why gaming has probably taken such a huge shift into player retention, just because so many people were stuck at home. So many new people were picking up video games because they were stuck at home and trying to take advantage of these players that, have potentially picked up a new hobby. You don't want them to stop. As a business, you don't want them to stop, but then it goes back to that whole thing of, again, utilizing an immoral type of practice or system. I don't know. I think I'll go ahead and cut off the video here. Definitely a lot more rambly. I don't know. Perhaps I'll, because just to, I guess, kind of teeter back on the fact of like why I haven't been uploading and stuff. Life has been crazy. I have just not had the time or energy to not only record gameplays, but also to try and edit down videos. Um, and I genuinely just have a lot more fun like actually playing the games. As fun as it is to kind of like put up videos and engage in discussions and share my thoughts on stuff, I still get the most enjoyment out of just playing the games and trying to genuinely put a game down to put up stuff. It's been tough in that regard to like kind of make choices, but also energy and time kind of factors into that whole thing. But I don't know. Perhaps I could do some more of these like rambly type things. Maybe they take up like 20, 30-ish minutes of just talking about something that's been kind of going on. Maybe on a weekly basis. Who knows? Um, and perhaps I could end up making it into some sort of, podcast type thing. I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas here. Kind of letting the thoughts flow. I always kind of keep things bottled up inside. I always internalize and rarely share it, but I feel good. And I don't reel back on the fact that like certainly a possibility I am falling out of love with FPS because even on X Defiant, man, people just take the game way too seriously. They abuse every minute advantage they can possibly get instead of just being laid back and just playing a video game. I don't understand why every single game, especially in a public lobby, has to be locked in full try hard. It's a weird trend that has popped up because I'm someone that rarely ever takes my games like fully seriously and I fully lock in. I always have YouTube open. I always have either music on or I have my attention split between, DMing somebody, maybe calling somebody as well. And the rare occasions where I'm locked in is where I actually kind of like do good or have good games. Or, sometimes matchmaking is lucky enough to give me that when I'm still like not really fully paying attention. And those make me feel even better. But yeah, I'll end it there. I've been going on long enough. Um, I don't know when I'll do another upload. I'm gonna be completely honest. It's life is still gonna be completely crazy. Still, things are gonna be completely unpredictable for me. I have nothing ever set in stone. But once I kind of get like fully into a full routine, perhaps I can come back and like fully commit to this once more. Um, I always hear from other content creators that like it's never too late to start up or start again. So who knows? I always have had a bit of a soft spot for, kind of content creation, at the very least in terms of just uploading and always putting my thoughts for certain things out there, whether it be games, topics, or what have you. But I'll go ahead and shut up. I'm done with this video for now. If you did make it all the way to the end, thank you so very much for being here and listening to me ramble. I really appreciate it. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day, week, evening, what have you. And I will see you all soon. Take care, everybody.